Today, we're going to go over child discipline and why kids not listening is such a common struggle. Why do kids ignore you until you yell? Let's fix that because I know you've been there. You asked nicely once, twice, 3 times, and nothing. But the second you raise your voice and you get that sharp edge in your tone, suddenly they're moving. And then you're left feeling guilty because you didn't want to yell, but it's the only thing that seems to work. And you're stuck between feeling like you're too permissive if you don't yell or you're too harsh if you do. So, mama, I have been in that exact same place where basically I felt like I had 2 options. Let them walk all over me or be the mean mom who yells to get things done. And both of those options felt terrible, okay? So real quick, if you're resonating with this, go ahead and like this video and subscribe because we're here diving into the real root of why things happen and what to do instead. If you're a mama who wants some parenting tips, definitely stick around. So here's what's really happening with these power struggles. Kids, they don't listen when they feel controlled. And I know that sounds counterintuitive because we think, well, I'm the parent, I need to have the control. But here's the thing. When your child feels like their sense of autonomy is constantly being taken away, their brain goes into resistance mode. It's like a reflex. It's not defiance for the sake of just being difficult. It's their nervous system saying, I need some power here. I need some say in my own life. And it's one of the core needs, autonomy. This is where positive parenting and gentle discipline, they come into play here. So understanding behavior challenges from a calm parenting perspective. That's what we're going to learn about. And this is where understanding the child, part of the trifecta of focus, is so important because kids are wired with this core need for autonomy, for a sense of control and choice in their world. Really, all human beings are, but we're talking about kiddos today. And then when we parent in a way that basically removes all of their autonomy, do this, go there, stop that, hurry up, their brain perceives that as a threat. And what we do when we feel threatened is resist, right? So why does yelling seem to work in the moment? Well, because it triggers their fear response. And when you yell, their nervous system goes, oh, this is serious. I need to comply to feel safe again. But that compliance isn't respect. It's not modeling respect, right? It's just fear. It doesn't teach them how to make good choices or to cooperate willingly. It just teaches them to obey when they're scared and they're not internalizing what you want them to really learn in life, right? We want to build our children up to their greatest potential, not just obey in fear until they're behind our backs and then do what they want. That's not the relationship we're trying to build either, right? So let me tell you about a moment that really, it opened my eyes to this. So I was trying to get my youngest to put his toys away, and I asked him nicely, like, hey buddy, can you please clean up your toys? And nothing. So I asked again, and still nothing. And then by like the 5th time, I was so frustrated. I was like, clean your toys up now. And he did it. But he was crying. My kids are pretty sensitive too. So I realized that he didn't clean up because he understood why it was important or because he wanted to cooperate. He cleaned up because I scared him into it. And that hit me hard because I don't want my kids to obey out of fear. I want them to cooperate because they feel connected to me and they understand why something matters. So let's talk about what doesn't work when we're dealing with toddlers or young children and their behavior issues and trying to find parenting that actually works. So repeating yourself like 100 times is just teaching them that you don't actually mean it until you hit a certain volume or tone, right? So this kills positive communication. You do need to repeat yourself for children because they learn through repetition, but not in a way where we're getting more and more angry each time, right? So threats as well. Like if you don't clean up right now, I'm going to throw away your toys, that kind of stuff. We've all been there, but threats create fear. Definitely not understanding. This is the opposite of effective parenting communication. And then we have the long lecture. So when you're giving a 4-minute explanation to a 6-year-old about why they need to brush their teeth, their brain checks out after like sentence 2. They just shut down. They're not effective parenting strategies. Okay, so what do we do instead? What actually works? Here are a few quick sprout tools that you can start using today. So tool number 1, give positive instructions instead of negative ones. So instead of stop running, you want to think of, because us parents have heard this many times, but I promise, if you think of a phrase that you can always use, if you have like a common behavior that they do that irks you, think of one phrase that you're always going to use for that behavior. So if the kids are running inside the house or inside of buildings, then we can have inside feet or walking feet. Walking feet is the one that I use the most. And you just have to remind them each time you go into a building, okay, what's the rule about our feet in buildings? Walking feet, please. Or can I ask you to head over there and grab that and use your walking feet, please? Okay, or if children are like climbing on things all the time and you have to, for their safety, get them down, you can tell them feet on the floor instead of get down, feet on the floor, and you're kind of training yourself. If you say that one phrase every time, it's so much easier than trying to remember this as a technique. You can write it down as a list, like all the different things you've been working on with your kiddo, and then the really short positive phrase that you're going to use for each one, okay? So then for a lot of little ones, what I've seen that's worked well for like hitting or being really rough is nice hands or soft hands or gentle hands. Pick one of those that you always say. And then when they get rough, soft hands. And you can show them, right? So kids' brains process what to do way better than they process what not to do. Now, the tool number 2 is use the choices game. So this one's magic, mamas. Okay, give them 2 options that you're going to be okay with. Do you want to clean up your toys now or after we read one book? They get that autonomy, you get that cooperation, and it's a win-win. And then we have tool number 3, and this is providing the words. So sometimes kids aren't ignoring you because they're being defiant. They're literally not knowing the language or the skills to use. And whatever you're asking them to do, they don't quite understand yet. So instead of just saying, use your words, actually give them the words. So you can say, can I have a help? A lot of times I'll give younger kids the sign language with it as well. Instead of them whining to me, I'll say, can you say help? Do you need help? And I really help them understand, like, oh yeah, that's how I get them to help me without whining and like screaming and pointing. And I don't give in to that because I don't want to reinforce that kind of behavior. I wait until they acknowledge this, right? You can say, I need help. So tool number 4 is get close and connect first. And this one changed everything for me. Instead of shouting from across the room, I walk over to my child, get down on their level, make eye contact, and then give the instruction. You have to have connection before you give direction every single time. I'm telling you, it will change everything for you. Then tool number 5 is set calm, consistent boundaries. So here's the thing. Kids actually, they crave boundaries, but they need those boundaries to be calm and consistent, not reactive and unpredictable. So when you set a boundary, you keep your tone steady and you follow through. You don't waffle. I know that you want to keep playing, but it's time for bed. I'm going to help you put your toys away. So you're like acknowledging how they feel, but then reinforcing that boundary or that rule. And then you're helping them and you're guiding them, right? You're not going to be negotiating. You're not going to be yelling. You might need to repeat yourself, but you got to stay calm and kind and firm because we're also modeling for them how to communicate. And here's what I really hope you understand is that your kids don't need you to be super harsh and controlling. They need you to be really clear. They need you to be connected. And they need to feel like they have some power in their own lives so that they're not constantly fighting you for it. And this is something they'll do subconsciously. They don't realize that they're doing it. It's part of the psyche, okay? So when kids feel seen, heard, understood, and when their need for autonomy is being met in healthy ways, they naturally cooperate more. Maybe not perfectly all the time, but trust me, it's going to be life-changing. This is emotional regulation for kids in action. So this week, I want you to try just one of these tools. Just pick one. Maybe it's giving positive instructions or using the choices game or connection before direction, and just notice what shifts, because I promise you, mama, there is a way to parent that doesn't require yelling. It just requires a different approach. So in the next video, we're going to dive into something that's really close to my heart, and that is generational trauma and how to break those negative parenting cycles for good. Because if you've ever heard your parents' voice come out of your mouth and thought, oh no, I said I was never going to do that, this one is for you. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it, and I'll see you there.